Welcome to Financial Issues, where we join reality with truth, helping you make the most of your money by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Financial Issues. It's a joy to be here with you again this morning. Seth Udinsky, Sam Case here with you today. We're excited to be here. Grateful for each of you. On today's show, we've got Craig Haugaard joining us, our faithful agricultural expert. He joins me for a live ag update shortly. We'll answer some of your questions. We didn't get to all of them last time we had Craig on. We'll also take a look at some of the biggest ag news of the day. Folks, listen, if you've got questions for Craig, now is your chance to get them in. So Craig's going to be coming on in about 15 minutes or so. Actually, a little less than 15 minutes, probably more like 12 minutes. So make sure that you get those questions in now into the chat in the next 12 minutes or so. And if Craig has time, we'll make sure to answer some of those questions for you. Again, we had some from last time we weren't able to get to, so we'll tee some of those up. But if you've got questions for Craig, put them in the chat right now. We'd love to get to those. Also, later in the show, Anthony Hopp of Samaritan Ministries is going to join me. There's a new feature at Samaritan Ministries that's available to members. I'm excited to hear about it, so we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Your comments and questions, of course, folks, put them in the chat. We'll make sure to give you shout outs, say hello. Also, we saw the big one. Nvidia reported yesterday. We'll see how they did and how Wall Street has reacted. It's great to be here with you all today. Sam, ready to rock and roll one more time?
Ready to rock the roll.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Hey, you know, in something, folks, seriously, that is not as fun, on actually a very, very serious, somber note to start our show. Yesterday, I'm sure you probably heard the horrific news of the Minneapolis school shooting. As of right now, I believe the latest news are saying that there were 2 children that were killed and up to 20 total victims at the Catholic Annunciation Church and School. This is according to local cops there. Sam, I haven't seen any more updates. I know some of those children were in critical condition, but as of what I've seen, as of the latest news, 2 of them tragically were killed.
Yeah, the latest up to dead, 17 wounded.
Okay, 17 wounded, and I think I saw maybe 2 or 3 in critical condition right now. Folks, just absolutely horrible. I mean, just absolutely horrible. This is children. These are innocent children. They're Christian children. And
the middle of praying. It was the middle of Mass.
Right in the middle of praying. They were in the middle of a Mass service. Just really, really terrible, folks. And so I felt it would be appropriate to open our show to just remind you that God is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. And despite the fact we believe in God's sovereign hand, tragedy is still tragedy, and it's horrible. And thankfully, we have a God who walks with us through this. Folks, listen, there's great comfort that I have this morning knowing, and this might offend some, I don't really care, but knowing that the shooter, who was a demonically fueled 22-year-old man who identified as a woman, and I'm not going to say this person's name, I'm not going to give them the dignity of that, but a 22-year-old man identifying as a woman is now receiving the full fury of divine wrath. We can take comfort in that. We should not take comfort in that in a cavalier sense, because we understand that we also deserve divine wrath, but we can take comfort in knowing that the justice of God never sleeps. And that man is receiving the full wrath of justice right now. Folks, listen, LGBTQ violence, which, contrary to what the left says, is violence perpetrated by people who identify as LGBTQ, not violence perpetrated against these people. LGBTQ violence is an epidemic in our country where these people whose minds have been taken captive by Satan are targeting Christian children. That's what's happening. In the last 2 years now, we've seen 2 different Christian schools shot up by these type of people. This is one of the great black marks on our nation, folks, and we have got to get on our knees and repent and ask for God's mercy on our nation, because this has got to stop. The issue, folks, is not gun violence. Despite what the left is going to say, it's not gun protection laws. We don't need stricter gun laws. We need doctors and parents and public school teachers to stop criminally and demonically influencing these children to believe a lie from Satan. That's what needs to happen. And I believe that these adults who are doing this, they're the ones that need to be locked up. For real. This has got to stop. So Pray that the Lord would be close to those family members of the victims today, especially those parents who lost children yesterday, but also those parents who are waiting in hospital rooms as their children are fighting for their lives. May God be their portion and comfort today. I hope we can be encouraged by that, folks. If we hear any updates during the show, we'll be sure to give it to you. But that's what's happening here. Boy, we need the grace of God in our country. And this transgender LGBTQ nonsense has to be eradicated, has to stop. And it by God's grace, it will stop with us. Well, let's move, folks, to something slightly less important, but that was dominating the financial headlines. Nvidia reported earnings yesterday, Sam. So we got the chip, darling. It beat on top and bottom lines yet again. Interestingly, Sam, it didn't seem to satisfy Wall Street, though. The stock is still
never
sliding.
Enough.
It's so funny. It's the all-powerful deities of Wall Street just never seem to be satisfied with whatever perfect or near perfect offering Nvidia seems to give them. So the year-over-year revenue for Nvidia, interestingly enough, it's exceeded 50% for 9 straight quarters. This is dating back to mid-2023. That was back in May 2023, that was the generative AI boom started to show up in NVIDIA's results. Now, it should be noted, the second quarter marked NVIDIA's slowest period of growth during that stretch. So, Sam, maybe that's what it was. Maybe the markets had some real high expectations. They're just always expecting NVIDIA to perform. And when NVIDIA only just performed moderately well instead of amazingly well, the markets were disappointed.
Yeah, expectations way too high. Yeah, I was wondering that. There was actually conversations about this in the news going into these earnings, saying, are expectations too high, that anything less than exceedingly stellar is going to be a disappointment?
Absolutely. Sam, tell us a little bit about the data center business that NVIDIA has been having here.
Well, yeah, I just want to explain a little bit. Why is it disappointing that the growth was not fueled by data centers? Well, the data center business at NVIDIA, that's been the main thing responsible for the overwhelming majority of the company's revenue since the AI boom a couple years ago. So what was this quarter? This quarter, they still did quite well, but this time it was fueled by their gaming division, which was actually NVIDIA's bread and butter for several decades, long before AI came on the scene, although it should be noted that NVIDIA said that sales growth this quarter will remain above 50%. So that probably means this morning's mild sell-off is nothing more than a knee-jerk reaction.
Makes sense. And of course, we wouldn't expect knee-jerk reactions in the markets, would we?
No, never.
Right. That's called sarcasm, folks. We see knee-jerk reactions every single day in the markets. Keep in mind, now, Sam, it's looking like market concerns likely going to shift to Friday's PCE report. We'll keep an eye on that for you tomorrow.
Yep. Even if these earnings were absolutely stellar, through the roof, amazing, gonzo nuts, the market would still shift their concern immediately to the inflation report coming out tomorrow.
The proverbial wet blankets of Wall Street. Well, Sam, speaking of NVIDIA, it appears, I think this is some good news, that the U.S. will not take stake in NVIDIA. What can you tell us about this?
That's what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said yesterday, shooting down the idea of the U.S. government taking a stake in NVIDIA after taking a 10% stake in Intel earlier this week. Here is Bessent sharing that news on Fox Business.
Are you considering taking stakes in further semiconductor companies? I mean, would the president consider taking a stake in NVIDIA?
Well, Maria, I don't think NVIDIA needs financial support. That seems not on the table right now. But could there be other industries where we're reshaping, something like shipbuilding? There could be things like that, and these are critical industries.
So you hear Bessent kind of leaving the door open for future investments there. In fact, earlier this week, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, he said the government's actually eyeing major defense contractors for acquisitions such as Lockheed Martin.
Oh, there's a monstrous discussion about defense. I mean, Lockheed Martin makes 97% of their revenue from the U.S. government. They are basically an arm of the U.S. government. They make exquisite munitions. I mean, amazing things that can knock a missile out of the air when it's coming towards you. But what's the economics of that? I'm going to leave that to my Secretary of Defense and the Deputy Secretary of Defense.
So, more purchases on the table, Seth.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, right off the bat, Sam, I'm glad to see that Nvidia at least won't become subsidized yet. I guess it remains to be seen. But I'll tell you, hearing what Bessent said, I'm very concerned with one thing he said, Sam, and here's what it was. The reason that the U.S. is not taking a stake in Nvidia is apparently because they don't need financial support. So, if I'm getting this right, the reason that Intel got the boost is because they needed financial support. How is that not a government bailout? That's a government that's a bailout repurposed as a stock purchase from the U.S. government.
And it means the U.S. government put stock in a failing company.
Absolutely.
That's not a good investment.
That's not a good thing at all. Not a good thing at all. Folks, listen, I am all for the United States doing things to improve itself. I'm in favor of my country improving. I'm in favor of bolstering defense. But there's got to be a better way than taking stock in these publicly traded companies, right? I mean, there are a lot. I don't know if you know this. The elites don't want you to know this, but our country has a high tax revenue. You could probably spend some of that money on defense spending yourself, maybe bolstering the military, training soldiers, improving weapons, getting rid of the DEI stuff in the military, who'da thunk, maybe getting rid of the vaccine mandates, things like that. Boy, folks, that's what we need here, and free market capitalism needs to be able to work apart from the shackles of the U.S. government. Interesting stuff nonetheless. Craig Haugaard comes up with me on the other side of this break. Make sure to get your questions in for Craig. We'll be right back after this.
There are moments in life that define us. Choices determine the courses we take. Choices that create life, or those that save a life, and some make life worthwhile. There are decisions to stay, or to go, to remain the same, or to grow. Sometimes we pray and make peace. Other times we take a stand for what we believe. In celebration, mourning, triumph, and defeat, we are invested in every decision we seek. Despite differences, we have one thing in common: the desire to do all for the glory of God. Keep your wallet aligned with your heart and your investments in harmony with your faith. Timothy Plan, biblically responsible mutual funds, ETFs, and retirement plans. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com. Read carefully before investing.
In a world where financial decisions can feel overwhelming, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: our family, our faith, and our future. With financial issues by our side, we can invest knowing that our financial decisions are in line with our values. Take the first step today and become a financial issues partner to access rich online resources, training tools, and guidance for biblically responsible investing. Head over to financialissues.org and learn how to invest your money in a way that honors God. That's financialissues.org.
If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood that she'll choose life. And on top of that, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with her. This is why you should support Preborn. The donations that you give actually make a difference. Last year, 59,000 babies were saved because of what you have done with your generosity.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Welcome back, folks. Financial Issues. Happy to be here with you all. Seth Udinsky, Samuel Case here, Thursday, August 28th. Appreciate each of you joining us today. Hope you'll say hello there in the chat, folks, as we're moving right along, trucking along here. I'm going to do a little chat rundown here while we're hanging out here today. Good to see Dave and Darlene from Mechanicsville, Virginia. 65 and sunny. I love to hear that. James in South Carolina. James, it sounds like it was a little chilly down there where you were. It was a little chilly for me as well. Brian and Kara in Illinois. Good to see you guys. I see your question for Craig. We'll try to get that if we have time. Uncle John, appreciate your encouraging words, brother. It is the demonic nonsense of transgenderism. It's not just nonsense either, brother. It's just purely evil. It's purely evil, and it's targeting children. It is fascinating that these transgender shooters will target children. They don't go to places where adults hang out. They'll go to schools because they want to take out children. And I do believe that part of that is because the demonic doctrine that's driving this is one that hates the image of God and particularly hates children. Why do you think abortion runs rampant in this country? It's because these demons hate children. And so when they are driving people to do horrible things like this, it only makes sense that children are their targets, especially Christian children. Just a reminder, we need to pray against this stuff. George, good to see you. I see your question there in the chat as well. And with some common sense, truth bomb there, Ann. I love that. It's great stuff there. It's always a joy here, folks, to see so many of you on the chat and to hear your comments. So it looks like we got Craig Haugaard with us. So we're going to transition here a little bit. Craig, can you hear me, buddy?
Absolutely. Loud and clear, Seth. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, brother. Excited to have you on here. We're going to have some fun. Craig Haugaard, our Financial Issues Ag Reporter, folks. Hey, if you want to listen to the Ag Report every day, you can catch it at a little bit of a different time during the show. But Craig, I always look forward to these times we have on the air where we get to talk live back and forth, because when Craig comes on the show, folks, the brilliance meter just skyrockets, as well as the handsome meter. So, Craig, you've doubly blessed us, brother.
Well, that's true. You know, I am more than just a pretty face, Seth.
That's right. There you go, brother. That's awesome. Well, Craig, let's kick it off here, buddy. So last week, I saw an interesting report Sham had shared with me from Florida. There is apparently a fear growing among farmers that the Trump administration's efforts to deport illegal immigrants, which I think both of us would support these heavily, by the way, might also have some unintended consequences that could harm the farming industry. And of course, this is based on the assumption that many farmhands are illegal immigrants. Craig, let me ask you this question. What do you make of this? How much of the farming industry is dependent upon illegal immigrant labor, and would this mass deportation have a negative impact?
Well, I find this whole thing really interesting. If you'll recall, in our history, we once fought a civil war, and part of it was that we just couldn't grow cotton if we didn't have slaves, right? And now the same party that was on the wrong side of that tends to be on the wrong side of this as well. We can't grow.
How funny is that?
If we don't have illegal immigrants.
We're losing our slaves.
Yeah, exactly. So I find the whole question kind of offensive, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But beyond that, the government thought of this decades ago. There's a program out there called the H-2A visa that allows U.S. employers, including farmers, to bring in foreign workers for temporary agricultural work. And that certainly applies to things like harvesting the crop, and it also applies to spring labor when you're planting that crop. I used to work in South Dakota where at harvest time, at least on the end of the business I was with, it gets to be extremely busy, and in some of the small rural towns, you just couldn't find employees to do that work. And so we went through this program and would every year hire quite a large number of temporary workers. We started out generally getting people from South Africa, but ended up with them from really all over Eastern Europe and around the world, frankly, that would come in and fill those roles that we needed filled at those seasonal times of the year where there was a labor shortage. Certainly the folks in Florida and throughout the United States involved in agriculture are aware of this program, and I suspect have utilized it. It's a pretty commonly used program. So to say that there's not a plan to address that is not accurate, and in fact I think is just a political tool. And
sure.
The people that are pushing narrative are banking on the fact that the citizens don't really know that there is a plan in place to deal with that. It's been in place for decades. So, like you said, the long-winded, maybe kind of a non-answer, but I don't see it as an issue. As far as what percentage are illegal, I don't know those numbers, Seth,
sure.
But
sure.
I suspect it's probably significant.
Yeah.
There are certainly legal workarounds to address it.
Yep. Certainly is great to hear, though, that the U.S. government does have a plan in place for that. And Craig, I'm glad you brought that up, because we can't be surprised to hear these types of talking points from the left saying things. Hey, you hit it on the head. Who's going to pick our cotton? Who's going to do this stuff? Back in the 1850s, it was the slaves, and now it's the illegal immigrants. They're using the same thing. I completely agree. We have to be on guard against that politicizing of an issue. So, yeah. Well, Craig, let's switch gears here just a moment and talk about tariffs for just a minute here. I know this is something you've been keeping an eye on, and I've asked you about this before, but it's been a while since I've asked you. So how have the tariffs made an impact on agriculture in the U.S., for better or worse, and how do you expect they might continue to do so?
You know, I think that being human nature, I tend to focus on the negatives, right? And,
sure.
Which is so that's probably what you're going to hear from me today. And I preface that by saying I fully support what President Trump is trying to do.
Yeah.
But we understand that when you're trying to fix a problem, there's sometimes some pain that's involved with that process. So as I look at it from a grain exporting and sales standpoint, the biggest impact has been on soybeans, and that is our relationship with China. Historically, I believe it's like 1 out of every 3 bushels of beans that's raised in the United States gets exported to China historically. And, we're heading into a new crop harvest now. And so far, China's bought absolutely 0 beans from us for new crops. So a huge change from what we've seen in the past. And they're very strategically trying to put some heat on President Trump. As you know, farm states have voted almost exclusively Republican. It's a very strong Trump country. And I think China is seeing this as a way to drive a wedge between the farm community and the president. The president came out late last week, and acknowledged that there's some financial damage that's being done to farms as a result of this, and is putting a plan in place to replace some of the lost income that farmers are experiencing as a result of the low prices and lack of access to the Chinese market. And that's what he did in his first term as well when he put that tariff in place. So I think from my end of the business, that's probably been the biggest impact. But as we look at another impact would be what we're seeing with tariffs on incoming goods, and that really is looking at the inputs, agriculture inputs, and the impact there. Historically, there's been very few to no inputs on fertilizer, and that is now jumped up. We're seeing inputs on that, and then herbicides, insecticides, pesticides that we use in farming had about a 6% tariff before these actions, and that's now up to around 20 to 25%. So as we look at the cost of growing goods, that's going to is seeing an increase in the cost of producing a crop simply because of the tariffs. But I think over time that's going to shake out as well. And but right now that's probably the pinch points that we're seeing in agriculture.
Sure. Craig, this is a related issue. By the way, folks, talking to Craig Haugaard, our Financial Issues Ag Reporter. So, Craig, I saw some rather what seemed to be concerning news, but again, I'm just looking at this from an outsider perspective. It appears China is now moving away from the U.S. in purchasing of soybeans. What do you know of this, and is this a concern?
Well, it is a concern. They have, as you guys probably know, or maybe don't know, but Brazil a few years ago has replaced the United States as the number 1 producer of soybeans, and their infrastructure has been getting better as well. It used to be that they did not have the storage capacity to really carry those beans, so they were a big player at harvest time. But then we saw the export market shift back to the United States. I think their infrastructure is such now that they're able to carry those beans longer and really kind of cut into that year-round bean market that we used to have more of an advantage in. We've seen China buying some soybeans for October, November shipment now, which is really in the heart of our harvest, usually a time period that we dominate. So that is it's certainly going to have an impact on soybean prices here in the United States. Now, one of the results of that is that we're seeing the spread between futures months increase. That's called carrying the market. Without getting too deeply into this thing, when there's a large supply in the world that needs to be carried or held until people need it, the market tends to build in what's called a carry in the market, basically rewarding people for storing it. And that's really how commercial elevators like myself make money is capturing that carry. So when I buy grain from a farmer, I immediately sell it in the futures market, but then I keep rolling it forward to pick up the carry and then hopefully some basis appreciation as well. Now, farmers can do the same thing with the bins on their farm, but they need to set the futures price first. If they just keep hanging on to it and let it move forward, you'll see the futures price evaporate. But if you have a price already locked in and can roll it forward to capture carry, there's going to be some really good opportunities. Right now we're seeing, like on wheat, for example, about 85 cents a bushel that you can pick up for the year just by holding on to it. And so there's some strategy things that I think farmers are going to have to become a little more on top of in the years moving forward from a money management standpoint. But I guess that was a long-winded answer, and that, yes, it's having a negative impact immediately, but there's also some business opportunities because someone is going to get paid to hang on to the crop.
Yeah.
And if we do that, that can be us.
Craig, I appreciate it so much, brother. Hey, quickly here, we're coming to the end, but give us an update on your health, brother. How have things going? I know it's been a journey for you, but things have been looking up recently. How can we continue to pray for you?
Yeah, it has, but it's pretty amazing. It's we actually are starting to enter a couple races again. I did something really stupid, Seth, and we've done some half marathons the last 3 years, but I went ahead and entered us in the original marathon in Athens, Greece here for November. So just be praying that our training goes well. The last year was not good, but
absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to try to get in shape quick and do a 26-miler.
We'll make sure to, Craig. Absolutely. Brother, I'm always impressed. I don't know how you do it. I don't think I've ever run a whole marathon in my life before. Meanwhile, you're out there doing this stuff. Appreciate you, Craig, so much. Folks, you have to leave us. Hope you have a great rest of the day. More financial issues coming up, though, right after this. Stick with us.
Where's Mima? We found out Shepard's diagnosis when I was about 17 weeks pregnant. We learned that he was going to need a series of surgeries after he was born in order to give him what they considered a normal life. And we weren't sure how this worked.
Yeah, very emotional, very, very broken. And as my wife just said, not sure how this worked. And called Samaritan, and they said, you just go have that baby. You leave the rest to us.
And just to hear the confidence on the other end of the phone of this is not something that you need to be concerned about at all. You focus on the health of your family, the health of your baby, and we will walk with you every step of the way.
In a world where financial decisions can feel overwhelming, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. But what if there is a way to align your financial goals with your deepest values? Financial Issues has helped us navigate the complex world of finance through a biblical lens. By prioritizing and investing in a way that honors God, Financial Issues has empowered us to focus on what truly matters: our family, our faith, and our future. With Financial Issues by our side, we can invest knowing that our financial decisions are in line with our values. Take the first step today and become a Financial Issues partner to access rich online resources, training tools, and guidance for biblically responsible investing. Head over to financialissues.org and learn how to invest your money in a way that honors God. That's financialissues.org.
When a woman comes into a center, she's being pressured from her family, from her friends, by her circumstances, by the rhetoric of the culture to believe that this is a quick and easy way out. If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood that she'll choose life. And on top of that, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with her. This is why you should support preborn. The donations that you give actually make a difference. Last year, 59,000 babies were saved because of what you have done with your generosity. And so we just encourage you to make a difference at whatever degree you can, whether you can do a $28 contribution for one ultrasound, whether you can underwrite an ultrasound machine for $15,000 or 10 ultrasound machines for $150,000. Where does the Lord have you so that you can make a difference?
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Welcome back to Financial Issues, folks. Hey, listen, I'm doing something right now that I meant to do before the show started. But if you watch Financial Issues on a social media outlet, like I'm on X right now, I just liked it and reshared it and reposted it. If you do that, folks, that's such an easy way for us to get the word out. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, if you're on any of those places, you can actually do that. So if you just like it, click that like button. If you just click that like button and if you click that share button, that's really a way for you to be able to kind of get the word out organically. We love that organic growth. Doesn't cost anything either. So if you like the show, click that like button, click the share button, send the link to your friends, share it with your pastor, tell people at church about it. It's a great way for us to get that word out organically. So wonderful to be here with you all today. Hey, I have another special guest on the program with me. I've got Anthony Hopp. Anthony is the Chief Purpose Officer at Samaritan Ministries. We love our friends at Samaritan Ministries. They're in the business of providing affordable biblical health sharing for Christians. This is not healthcare. This is not big healthcare. It's health sharing. It's Book of Acts health sharing. And I'm so honored to be a part of it. Anthony, welcome to the show, brother. Thanks for coming on with me.
Good morning, Seth. Good to be with you.
Yeah, it's great to have you, man. Hey, what I'd like to do here, Anthony, is have you tell us about a new kind of ministry initiative that you guys are doing over at Samaritan. It's called Redeem. I believe you guys launched this last month. Can you tell us about this, Anthony? What is it?
Yeah, Redeem Health Share is really Samaritan Ministries' next generation of healthcare sharing, and it is built on over 30 years of healthcare sharing experience. So we did a bunch of market research just to understand deeply the needs and desires and expectations of our members and prospective members. And over the last year plus, we've had some teams diligently working on forming Redeem, and we were really excited to launch that last week in Dallas.
That's awesome. So tell us this, Anthony, how is Samaritan Ministries using Redeem to push forward that mission and vision?
Well, yeah, that's a really good point, Seth. We see the launch of Redeem Health Share as really creating an environment to expand kingdom impact, to be able to do more ministry. Our mission all along has been to redeem healthcare by helping the body of Christ love one another through sharing one another's healthcare burdens. And the launch of Redeem Health Share enables us just to do that more, leveraging technology and being able to offer programs that really fit the needs and desires of members and prospective members. So it's always been about the mission. And so we're taking the 30 years of experience and the learning and then using that in order to launch Redeem, which has programs that we believe both our members and prospective members are going to love.
And so, Anthony, what is it exactly? You had mentioned technology. Is Redeem going to be in an app format? Is it digitized? How can Samaritan members, and I know we have many in our audience, myself included, how do we get access to it?
Yes, we're working on the app. That's not ready yet, but it is a fully digital experience. We were so excited to get this out, and so we did so, even not having the app completely ready to go.
I think I might have lost. Oh, there you are, Anthony. Sorry, I think I lost you there for just a second. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yep.
Yeah, the digital environment, Seth, enables us to we'll take care of the transactional end, of course, like from moving money from member to member, but it's so far beyond that because, as our mission indicates, it's all about ministry kingdom impact. So the technology enables us in real time to be supporting each other, to pray for each other, to encourage one another. So there is this profound sense, even more than before with our previous programs, that I'm not alone in my medical need, that I've got other people around me supporting me. And of course, the technology aspect, just when it comes to it working, submitting my medical needs, being able to take care of payment. I was one of the guinea pigs on the program when we first started beta testing this a year ago. So I went through the process, submitted my medical need, and I knew what to expect in theory. But then when I actually submitted my medical need, I was so pleasantly surprised at how incredibly easy it was. So I think members are going to love the intuitive ease of being able to take care of their medical bills. And then they're going to be so blessed when they're able to experience the community through leveraging that technology of us being able to minister to one another.
And so, Anthony, this is maybe a specific question for you, but I know, traditionally for Samaritan members, you have you submit the bill online and then you start receiving the checks to be able to pay for that bill. Will that all be digitized now where you can do all of that online? It's maybe a little more streamlined. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it's all streamlined. Instead of leveraging PayPal the way that we have with our legacy programs, this will be completely a Samaritan. Everything is self-contained in the Samaritan Ministries ecosystem. And so, everything will be streamlined, and all of those details can be found at redeemhealthshare.org, but you're exactly right.
Awesome. Redeemhealthshare.org. Anthony, that's great. My last question for you on this, for current members, what can we expect? Will there be an update, an email update? Will we be automatically gifted into this? How will all of that work? Is there a link that we sign up for it?
Yes, right now we've already announced this to Samaritan members, and it wasn't a great big fanfare. We let them know that it was happening because there are still some aspects that Samaritan members will probably want and expect. Specifically, this gets kind of technical, Seth, but we have something called an IUA, or an individual unshared amount, an initial unshared amount. And this is the amount that members pay before the medical need is shared. Well, now, with the launch of Redeem, we have an AUA, that's an annualized amount, more similar to what people expect in the marketplace with a deductible, but it's not what Samaritan members expect. So because we don't have the IUA ready, we're working with an AUA, an annualized amount, and that's different for Samaritan members. We want to really get that IUA in place for Samaritan members, since that's what they're used to, that's what they like. That doesn't mean that Samaritan members can't join now. They absolutely can. You can go to Redeem Health Share and do that. To your question, will they automatically be enrolled in that? Absolutely not. They can choose, and over the next months, we'll be giving more information to Samaritan members as to how they can do that. But again, we're trying to get some other elements of those programs ready to go before we really tell Samaritan members about it.
Anthony, that's wonderful news, man. We're really excited for you. Thank you for being on the front lines of this. And for me personally, I just want to thank you so much. Samaritan has been such a blessing to me. I've now been a member with Samaritan since I started here at FISM. So I've been on for almost five years now. It's been such a blessing. I've had two children. I've had 2 births on Samaritan. We've had hospital visits, surgeries, and getting the encouragement and support every step of the way, not to mention the affordability of getting it completely covered, other than that first initial unshareable amount, as you said. It's really amazing. It's just such a gift, brother. So thank you so much for that. It's amazing.
Oh, our pleasure, Seth. We appreciate your guys' support. And we're just excited about going forward.
That's great, man. Hey, quickly here, Anthony, before we sign off, how can the listeners of Financial Issues continue to pray for the work that Samaritan Ministries does?
Pray that the right people hear about Redeem. It's not about just getting new members. It's about proliferating our mission. And that's done by more and more Jesus followers learning about this and then deciding, this is exactly how I want to practice my faith. And it addresses so many gaps in this broken, miserable healthcare system that we have that we just want to see more and more followers of Jesus learn about it and join us.
Wonderful stuff, brother. Tell us that link one more time, Anthony.
redeemhealthshare.org, and also by just going to SamaritanMinistries.org for our existing members. They can get there too, but there's a whole separate site, redeemhealthshare.org. Awesome, redeemhealthshare.org. Anthony, it's a pleasure speaking with you as always, brother. Thanks so much for joining me on the show. Thanks, Seth. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. God bless. Folks, again, that's Anthony Hopp, Chief Purpose Officer, Samaritan Ministries, redeemhealthshare.org, or members, you can check it out at SamaritanMinistries.org. Hey, let's quickly, folks, take a look at what the markets are doing before we take a quick segment break. There wasn't much movement yesterday from the major indices as investors awaited with bated breath what treasures Nvidia's earnings call would bring. Well, apparently they didn't really bring much treasures, Sam, because the markets weren't too pleased nonetheless. By midday, indices were slightly positive. Same with late afternoon. They finished pretty well yesterday. The Dow was up about a third, the S&P up about a quarter, NASDAQ up about a fifth. Pre-markets this morning were kind of muted. They weren't really sure what to think. It kind of seems like the NASDAQ has found its equilibrium and is realizing, Nvidia actually did okay. So the NASDAQ is positive right now. It's about 1/3% up. The S&P 500 is just above the flat line, and the Dow Jones is just below the flat line as we sit this morning. So that's what we're looking like, folks. Let's see, the 10-year
Looking
Treasury.
at Nvidia right now, it looks like they've pretty much recovered from that dip from yesterday.
It seems like it. Seems like it. So I think maybe Wall Street is just waking up and realizing, a good earnings report is good news. So
good earnings is good.
Yeah, exactly right. 10-year Treasury yield right around 4.25%. Meanwhile, oil is sitting at $63.83 a barrel as we speak. At least that's what my screen is showing me before it refreshes. So yeah, right around that 63.80 mark for oil. All right, folks, coming on the other side of this break, we'll get some more financial issues. We'll address some of you on the chat. We've got some good comments over the last couple days, so we'll talk about some of these. Also, we'll look at what's going on in the larger world as it comes to tariffs in the EU as well as India. That and much more on the other side of this break. We'll be right back after this.
The American people are taking a stand against woke policies.
People have had enough. They are watching what's going on and saying, I don't support this. They're making the only argument that's convincing to corporations when they start talking with their wallets. And the corporations are starting to wake up.
Tractor Supply is backing down.
John Deere announced is phasing out.
Harley Davidson is making a
Lowe's joins the ever-growing list of companies ditching DEI.
Money talks. So why not have it represent your values? Learn more at financialissues.org.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
And we're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan members.
Hi, this is Sheena Bird, the host of Financial Issues. The Financial Issues family is so blessed to have saved tens of thousands of babies, all thanks to the generous support of you, our listeners and viewers. For $140, you can sponsor 5 ultrasounds. Please go to preborn.org, that's preborn.org, or financialissues.org and click on the Preborn logo. Save a baby, save a life.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Welcome back, folks. Good to be here with you. We're having some fun here on Financial Issues. Let's do a little chat comments here. Yesterday, we got a great one. Sam, what was Claude saying in Louisiana? We'll start there.
Claude agrees with us that property tax is no good, saying, how about no property taxes for people over the age of 65?
Amen, Claude. Yeah, I think this was in reference yesterday. We were talking with Mark And it was during the question that we asked him about, should you pay down your house with the investments that you have, or should you just keep investing? And one of the really good points Mark made yesterday, Sam, is just something to consider, is that even if you pay off your house, you still got to pay stuff for it. You still have to
You're
pay
renting from the government.
You're renting from the government. That's exactly right. I hate it. You hate it. We all hate it. But that's just the way it is, unfortunately. But amen, Claude. I agree with you. Property taxes are legalized thievery from your benevolent statist overlords.
At least they're benevolent.
Yes, at least they're benevolent. At least they care for you, because we don't have the wherewithal or the ability to care for ourselves or to make something for ourselves. We need the government.
I mean, come on, look at you, Seth.
Ridiculous. I know. Yeah,
maybe you.
That's actually why I got married, is because I need all the help I can get. But no, listen, Claude, I agree with you. I personally would be in favor of no property taxes for anyone. But let's start with 65 and over. Amen. If we can get that and then get the ball rolling there, that would be awesome. Here's what we need, though, unfortunately, and I don't know if we're going to get this. We need politicians with some level of backbone. They need a backbone. Spineless weasels. We got too many of them in the Capitol Hill today on Washington, D.C. We need politicians that will make a decision to actually benefit the American people and not line their own pockets. Property taxes means more revenue for the government, which means they get paid, they have jobs. Sam, one of the craziest things that I've been thinking about lately is, how in the world do all of these government officials, when they enter into politics, all of a sudden 3-4 years go by and their net worth is up in like the 30 millions? How
that's the big question, right? And it's one that Josh Hawley's trying to answer with his whole no stock buying bill.
Yeah, and I know that's a slightly off topic thing here, but I do think it says something to this question of property taxes, and what we need from the government is we need politicians who are able to keep themselves in check, and they understand, if I get too much power, that's bad. I actually, so this is me speaking as if I'm a politician. I need to be able to say my power needs to be very limited, because if I have too much power, I will screw it up. And I do think property taxes is kind of an outworking of that.
Of course, this also shows the importance of not just federal governments, but also state and local governments, because that's where this is really an issue. Federal government's not involved in this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the reality, Sam. The likelihood of elected officials willing to give up anything that the government has gained is about as likely as the sun rising at night.
Well, we got a comment about this the other day. I was balking about the U.S. government purchasing Intel, and they said, well, they're just going to sell it. It's going to be a sort of Damocles over Intel's head saying, well, you better shape up as a company or we're going to sell you. And I'm looking at that thing thinking, there's no way the government's ever going to let anything go, even if it's just a sinking ship. They're not going to let it go.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things to do, Sam, right now is, Knox is at the stage where he's looking around. He's able to make eye contact, and there's even some nonverbal communication going on there. But one of my favorite things he does is when he grabs my finger, his grip is a death grip. He does not let go.
It's one of the most fun things to do with babies, is see how strong their grip is.
It's so fun, and that boy's got a strong grip. He's going to be doing pull-ups pretty soon. That's kind of what the government is, though. Whenever it grabs onto something, it will not let go. Won't let go. It will only grab it tighter. That's the truth of it, Sam. Yeah, I remember that comment that we got.
The baby grip of the government.
That's exactly right. The strong iron baby grip. Listen, folks, I love the optimism of saying, well, the U.S. government will just sell it at a profit. They're not going to sell it. They grabbed control of something. You kidding me? When have they ever let go of control of something that they've grabbed onto? I can't think of a time, Sam. I really can't. What I can think of is times that they've grabbed onto something and then continued to make it more and more centralized. And it's oftentimes at the burden of the taxpayer that we then have to pay more and more taxes for this stuff. Centralized schooling, centralized healthcare, centralized Social Security, centralized all that other stuff, including property taxes. So, yeah, it is unfortunate. Claude, I'm with you, though, brother. Let's get it started. How about no property taxes over 65? Start there, and then see if we can get it down to over 55, 45, 35, and eventually no one is paying property taxes. I would love that. What else do we have there, Sam? I know we have one from George in North Carolina. What's George saying?
Yeah, George is talking about Cracker Barrel reneging on their whole logo, but he says that his fear is that the wokeism just disappears from the surface in companies like Cracker Barrel and continues where it counts in the internal workings of the company. He says, I'm really referring to the government, colleges, businesses, military, etc. We need to keep up the fight, but it's deeply entrenched.
It is deeply entrenched, George. I agree, and that's why we need to keep up the fight. You got to keep the pedal to the metal. metal. George, I want you to be encouraged here because I'm with you 100%. But this is my greatest fear. I really think, I think, Sam, with the Trump administration in general, is this just going to be a 4-year reprieve? And then we're going to go back to the nonsense that we saw in the 4 years under Biden and in the 8 years under Biden's puppet master, Obama. I hope and pray that it's not going to be that. But what it's going to take, folks, is for us to keep the pedal to the metal and really see some serious change. Now, the encouraging thing I wanted to get to here, George, for you, is the fighting back that we've been seeing did not begin in 2025. There's no way it began in 2025. It probably began more like 2023. When people started to wake up was right around, you could even make an argument it was 2022. People started to realize all the nonsense, all the smoke and mirrors that they had with the COVID lockdowns and with the gay stuff and with all that other stuff. They started to realize this stuff makes no sense and it's evil and vile and we need to change it. So it happened during what we would call a truly vile administration. So the resistance can happen even during wicked administrations.
Well, we know this is the case because Donald Trump's now president.
Yeah,
it's not like Donald Trump was elected president and then the support
and that's
grew.
what happened.
The support got Donald Trump in the White House.
That's exactly right. And of course, there were a lot of things that happened along the way, providential things. How about God moving the bullet? Pretty providential, and other things like that. But yeah, George, listen, it's well said, brother. We got to keep the fight going, folks. That's part of why what we do here at Financial Issues is so important, because money talks, and money, the impact of money goes so deep. Where you invest and how you invest goes so deep. We just finished the petition with Tesla. We got hundreds and hundreds of signatures on that. That's the kind of work that needs to be done, where now we're praying that it gets to the right people, that Elon Musk sees it, and that we see real change in a company that big. Tesla's one of the Magnificent Seven, folks. If Tesla were to change like that, it would really mean a lot for our movement. It would really do well. That's why we're doing this stuff. That's why it's so important how you invest. It's well said, George. I love that. Some comments from today here. Mark saying, I love the idea of real estate tax going away at age 65. Would this include all real estate owned? Mark, I would think so. Absolutely. Rental properties, if you got business properties, I think that would be wonderful. Because, once again, real estate, property tax, legalized thievery. Am I correct in that, Sam?
You already paid the tax. You paid the tax when you bought it.
Paid the tax when you bought it.
Why are you getting taxed more?
You're paying rent to your governing overlords.
When you buy a couch, you pay the tax.
Right.
You don't just keep paying a tax every month or every year to keep the couch.
Exactly right. That's why I love to see what Ron DeSantis is trying to do in Florida. And boy, you can imagine if he's able to get some kind of decrease or complete disappearance of property tax, there's going to be a lot of wealthy folks in New York City who are going to be eyeing up Florida, especially
it's already happening, right?
Mr. Mamdani.
With Mamdani?
Yep, exactly right. So
love to be a realtor down in Florida right now.
Absolutely.
Be awesome.
Absolutely. Sam, let's talk about this real quickly here. The EU is working to scrap some tariffs. That could mean a lot of different things. Make some sense for us here, Sam. What does this mean?
Right. So what they're doing right now is sort of fast-tracking legislation to end tariffs on American industrial goods. This is being done in an effort to keep European cars still flowing into the United States, as Trump is promising to lower those tariffs on cars on the condition that the EU scraps those tariffs. Currently, European cars face a 27.5% tariff. That could fall to just 15% if the EU does comply with Trump's demands here. However, though, Seth, this might not be the end of the conversation, as Trump recently also threatened new tariffs against countries that impose online service taxes, measures that primarily impact U.S. tech firms such as Google and Amazon. And one of those countries, or block of countries, that has one of these taxes is, of course, our friends in the EU.
So the power play continues here, Sam, doesn't it? It seems like, and I like what I see here, it seems like the United States is appropriately trying to bully the EU. Am I correct in that, Sam? That we're trying to get deals done.
Healthy bullying?
Healthy bullying never hurt anyone, especially when it's against the worthless globalist, pseudo-socialist, demonic conglomerate across the pond known as the EU, once a bastion of Christendom, sadly no more. Last time I checked, Sam, we fought and won a war 250 years ago, so we don't have to concern ourselves with what goes on in Europe.
Yeah, so we can bully them.
That's right. Exactly right. So good stuff to see there. Quickly here, Sam, we're also seeing India got slapped with a 50% tariff.
Yeah, this is something Trump's been threatening to do, up those impose tariffs on India for buying Russian oil as Trump's trying to bring an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine, and energy purchases are fueling Russia's war machine. One of those purchasers is India. Trump has now imposed a 50% tariff on India as a result, although questions still remain. Is this going to be effective? As last week, both Russia and India, agreed to expand their trade ties, with India's foreign minister saying the two nations have among, quote, the steadiest of the major relationships in the world after the Second World War as of right now.
Good stuff, Sam. It's necessary for sure. And now what we need to happen is those other nations that are cozying up with Russia and their trade relations, Turkey, we got to see that happening there as well. We got some tariffs on them. Great stuff, Sam. I appreciate you bringing that up to us so much, brother. Folks, remember, everything you have belongs to the Lord. Want you to be found good and faithful stewards, folks. That's why we're here, to be found good and faithful stewards. We do have Bible study tomorrow morning. I hope you'll join us 6:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Central. You can find the login information on financialissues.org resources tab. Great to be here with you all, folks. It's all His. Let's be good and faithful stewards. See you next time.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.